Okay, I'm back. Got baby girl situated to watch her show. And so this is you can see the call number here, 1602-1126. This shows that it is 3/22/2016, 3:39 p.m. Now, I'm not really sure. Oh, it says it was printed 3/22. Okay. At 3:39 p.m. and I think that's when Kathy got it for me. Again, it shows that it is a civil complaint. 2175 South Highway 121 Business. Caller Marlena. Okay. Shows it's Budget Suites of America. Okay. And it shows complains daughter's father is coming over to her apartment to pick up daughter, and complainant maybe wants an officer to stand by. Okay, now it's saying she says she also has questions for the officer regarding custody. She stated she was supposed to drop the daughter off, but he was adamant about coming over, so she's concerned. I'm going to go ahead and finish reading this, and then it says just the final details where we're close to. Okay, and this is page 104. Absolutely. I actually had communicated with him that day. This was the first date after court, the 3-2 hearing, where, she'd come back 2/24/16 with the vaginal issues and alarming behaviors. And I was going to still comply with the court's order and drop her off in Dallas. At the time, it was both of my sons there at the apartment, Isaiah and Joshua. We also had one other person that was there with us, and another person that was on the way, so that we could all drive to DPD together. Just based on the nature of all the all the stuff that's been going on with the county opposed to me, not knowing what they would try to do or anything whatsoever, and just also not wanting to encounter him by ourselves. We were going to be driving there together, so we were waiting for the other, for the other person to show up so that we could go. Also have one person stay there with my son Joshua, so he wasn't alone. My vehicle, I have a green Ford Taurus. The tire had just gotten flattened and it had a spare on it, and I didn't know how long the spare could go. I would be driving from Louisville all the way to Dallas Police Department off of 30 in rush hour traffic with the spare, and so that's why I didn't take my vehicle, because I didn't think it was safe enough to do that. So again, this is the rest of the page here. This is page 3 of 4. Wait a minute. I need to find 2 of 4. Okay, here's 2 of 4. So let's look at this again. So we got page 1 of 4, and scrolling up the same page, let's say this is the same 1602-1126. Scrolling down the page. Okay, I'm now flipping the page. Okay, and I'm just going to go straight down here, and then I'm going to go straight down and to the bottom here. I've got page 2 of 4. I'm going to keep going up the same piece of paper to where you can see it's the same call number. Again, I'm doing this to authenticate documents because unfortunately no one can see them right now. And so now I'm going to go ahead and read where I did actually report to law enforcement what the findings were. Under the Texas Penal Code, CPS Code, Duty to Protect, you do have to report to law enforcement if you have suspicion or suspect any child abuse or neglect of your child. And so here is, again, spoke to the caller. She voiced her concerns with the father of the girl, stated he just had their daughter and she was concerned for the child. So again, it says here 3/3/2016. She stated when she finally got her daughter back, she had to take her to see a doctor because she had a rash and discharge from her vagina, like she was not cleaned properly while her dad had her. It said she thought about it and decided not to give the child to her ex, and will explain to the judge, oh, princess, will explain to the judge why she did not the next time she went to court. Okay. All right. And so that is actually what happened. That's the report. There's also an audio about this whole discussion. I did talk to a good officer. I'm going to show this is page 3 of 4, the rest of the report here and what it looks like. I explained the situation to him, situation being how she came back with the swollen vagina with fluids coming out of her, with also the fact that he had secreted her from both the Colony and Dallas Police Department during the time that all of this was going on, and that pretty much I just wanted to make sure that Louisville PD was prepared. If they had made me turn my daughter over again, I was going to file a writ of attachment on the fact that all of this was being done under void orders. Collin County, again, when they committed fraud back in October, in doctoring the email chain, and just the whole aspect of how this case has been handled. They've lost jurisdiction, so their orders are void. They're null and void. They have no legal effect. And so just to not be immediately arrested, if I had turned her over, I would have filed a writ of attachment with the parent, as the parent with the superior right to the child, to get her back. And so I wanted to make sure that Louisville PD was prepared to handle a situation of safely getting a child out of a residence if that person, again, like he did for the Colony and Dallas Police Department, did not choose to agree with the legal decision, open the door, show the child to police. I wanted to make sure that they were okay with that. I actually spoke with an officer that did the right thing. As an officer of a 3-year-old, he said, ultimately, you know, I can't tell you to violate a judge's order, but I would tell you that if my daughter came back with those signs as a 3-year-old, I would not be taking her back to the other parent. And I would just deal with it in court, which again is what I was going to show cause and documentation, not allegations, but all of my medical report records for my daughter, the before and after, as well as the Colony Police Department that I got certified from them, that I'll go over here in just a moment, to explain why I am not intentionally and knowingly contributing to neglectful supervision and turning her back over into an environment where she is secreted even from police, and then coming back with the swollen vagina, fluids coming out, and a lot more questions than answers. That, by the way, this entire time he nor his attorney have been willing to schedule, agreed in advance, come tell your side. They have not been willing to speak and say a word about, and they did not request any medical records to just appear in court and say mom's making false allegations. So again, why all the secrecy? Why all the cover-ups? I've sent emails begging him to just tell me something good. Tell me something I can believe as to why she had discharge that then dissipated within just a couple of days of being home, which is conducive to anyone that has ever had sexual relations, understanding that sometimes after sexual relations there can be swelling of the vagina and fluids. If my daughter had a yeast infection, then it would have been something that needed to have been treated. She never had discharge before, she never had discharge after, but just for that day that she came home, a little bit the day after. And again, we have Children's Hospital stating in one of their records that she had a vaginal culture done, which she did, and my audio will also confirm. But then the lab result says it came from a wound. So again, much more than suspicion at this point, much more facts and evidence to back up the now allegation of child sexual abuse, of what happened to my daughter that Sunday morning when he could not show her to police, the Colony or Dallas. Why was she secreted? Why did she come back with the swollen vagina, fluids coming out of her? Why did the hospital cover it up? Why did 7 people at Collin County Courthouse cover it up? I'm going to go ahead and try to go and move forward with my reports obtained from the Colony Police Department while we're talking about all this. So here's where I got my reports from the Colony Police. You'll see I'm still going through the same binder. Actually, at this time, my daughter's come to breastfeed, so she's actually latched on while I'm doing this here. And so here is the City of the Colony Police Department. Now, Louisville and the Colony are part of Denton County. And I had not had any proceedings in Denton County up till now. We all live and reside in Denton County. He lives in the Colony. I live in Louisville. And so the Colony technically would be the jurisdiction over us at this time. But again, Collin has continued to claim continuing exclusive jurisdiction over Marlena Yvette and her children, so they can continue to enact their personal vendetta that started with me fighting zealously against Marissa Balius of Alvin Yates, Balius, and Roach, and Judge Chris Oldner, who had already determined I was going to lose my son regardless of the facts back in 2013. So again, I'll get into that story much later, but now we're back to the City of the Colony Police Department request for public information. Today's date, 3/28/2016. Requester Marlena Yvette, 2715 South Highway 121, Lewisville, Texas, 75056. That's the contact address, and of course my contact number there. And again, I'm requesting information. And again, so what my requests were is all reports except for 22516 already received from the colony. Address of incident, this would have been anything from 4141 Driscoll Drive in the colony, or any other address. Any and all calls, reports by, about, or involving, including any that may have been made against me, Marlena Yvette, likely by Carrillo Bafum Johnson. If any against me, please include 911 audio for 22516 in this request. Here is that audio from them, and this was the phone call for the health and safety welfare check that they did provide on this day, 2016-2588 audio. It says the date that this was received in this particular report was fulfilled was 3/28/16. So again, just getting all of my records, all my facts in place, no bogus allegations. I hate people that make bogus allegations when moms do them, when dads do them, because when people credibly have issues and they need help, they're not believed. And so for those that make false allegations, you are part of the problem that we have in the family court system, where constantly people are falsely accused of abuse and neglect and various different things, and ultimately there are laws for false allegations, and I hope that they start becoming more aggressive to jail people that make false allegations. You make everything worse for people with legitimate issues. You make children that should not have to suffer because these systems, I do get it, become inundated with people in custody battles making allegations against one another, where ultimately it's vindictive and they're using it for the purposes of obtaining custody. It's sick. And to those of you that are listening, if you've ever done it and even embellished just a little, please stop it, because you are responsible for creating a system that does not want to take anybody seriously. Now, they are professionals, so they are trained to be able to sift and do proper investigations. So again, I'm not excusing any authorities that don't do their job, especially when people are telling you everything they've got is proof via audio, via email, via records, and you don't care to see it or let it be entered in the file. Now that's corruption, right? Because that's keeping the evidence, the facts, and the law out of the case, which courts are established to determine fact and law. So why the very basis of the judicial system and the court system is not allowed to be heard? Again, that's corruption. But again, just a small note while I'm thinking about it and talk about it, for those that are making bogus allegations against your ex to gain ground in custody matters, stop it. You are a part of the problem and not a part of the solution. Okay, on the back of this page is Edna. This is the woman that actually fulfilled this particular request, and there's her signature. Now I'm going to go to the Colony Police report that I referenced, that I did already have a copy of. And so you can see that I paid for the copy here. This actually was obtained on 2/25/2016. And this was me going to go ahead and get the report, still trying to get my temporary restraining order hearing to prove that he lied to the Colony Police Department. You'll see again, still in the same binder. Here is the receipt where I paid for it. Here is the certification so that this can be filed with the courts, and it says, I, Elise Maloney, hereby affirm that the attached incident report 2016-2588, which is again what you just saw on that audio. Let me show you again. Here it is, 2016-2588 audio, is a true, exact, and complete copies made by me. And again, there's a signature, Elise Maloney, subscribed and affirmed before me this 25th day of February 2016, Elise Maloney, and Karen Ann Frawley was the signature of notary. So again, this is at 5151 North Colony Boulevard. This is the Colony, Texas. And then we've got 972-625-1887. Okay, so this was the Colony Health and Safety Welfare Check. So now I'm going to flip the page. Again, I've got the same book here. Flipping the page, you can even see the back here. And so now here is the actual incident report. It states that it is page 1 of 1. And again, I'm just continuing to go up here. You can see my name, Marlena Yvette. You can see the officers that responded was Officer Jones, Moore, and Officer Merritt, officers 297 and 273. I'm not sure which one was the female, which one was the male, but I'll find out here in just a moment. It shows the incident date and time. This was actually, again, that Sunday, 2/21/2016, 8:58, 46 a.m., 4141 Driscoll Drive, The Colony, Texas. Again, there's my phone number there. It says the login was E. Maloney, so actually I think maybe this was the gentleman, 2/25/2016, 12:58. And again, incident number 2016-00000, 4 zeros, 2588. Again, the Colony Police Department, the number TX0611500. It's showing up here that this was just simply a welfare concern, the Colony 911 low routine. Okay, page 1 of 1. Now, again, still showing I'm in the same book. Continuing to move forward. Now, this is 2 of 2. And this is the CAD narrative, which I'm actually a little concerned that there's not a page 1 of 2. So I need to figure out where that is. That's concerning. Oh, you know what? Goodness gracious, this is actually the report, the long report written from the officer. So I need to find 1 of 2, and I will find it. Hold on 1 second. It's actually a long, detailed report. These are incident reports from the Colony that I got. Okay, I'm going to find that report because it was actually a very detailed, well done description of what happened that day. But I'm going to go ahead, and I guess this is the CAD narrative of just the things that had happened. Oh, wait a minute. This may be the CAD narrative right here. Okay. So I don't know how that first page went, but ultimately, here we go. 2/21/2016. Shows the time here. Class of service, WRLS, special response info, wireless caller, verify callback number, verify location, uncertainty, competence. And it says female called 911 and gave this address. Narrative, requested she needed a welfare check. Then she hung up. Female sounded like she was sitting in a vehicle with the door open. What the emergency is. Unknown what the emergency is. ATT to CTC, heard back. X6, and she did not answer, left voicemail. I actually have a voicemail of this where they called me right back. My phone actually died and dropped the call. So that's what they're talking about, and I do actually have the audio where this is the Colony 911, please call us back. And so narrative dispatch received by unit A30, dispatch received by unit A20. It says made contact with officers in front of house. It says narrative A30 RP stated that she has been emailing, messaging with child's father regarding how the child is doing. B Merritt says A30 RP concerned that last contact from child's father was on 2/18/2016. RP, I guess reporting party, requests that officers put eyes on the child to see if she is safe. Again, if you remember, he has made threats in me fighting for safe visitation, that this is how kids come up missing and not returned. And so with me contacting him again on the 18th, that is the 18th, the 19th, the 20th, the 21st, I have not heard from him. So I don't know if she's at the border of Mexico or where she is, and I just need them to lay eyes on her. RP provided contact number for child's father. RP stated she is not disputing the time of custody, just worried the father has not responded. That was it. Wasn't dramatic. Was just need somebody to look at the child and look at my daughter and see that she's safe. That's all I reported. That's all that was going on. Again, I do have an audio of this phone call. So narrative says, officer called father and left a voice message. Officer received a call back within minutes. Father stated that child is fine and sleeping. Father stated that RP is not supposed to contact him during his time of possession and wanted officer to address it with RP, reporting party. Father stated that RP is on probation for violation similar court orders. Father did not tell officer where he was with the child. That's interesting. So we're going to go. Originally told officers that court order was a okay, so this is talking about now. B. Merritt is saying narrative. Reporting party originally told officers that court was a void order. Officer told reporting party that father stated order prohibited her from communication with him during his time of possession. Reporting party wanted to know the punishment for lying to an officer. Reporting party showed officer her copy of order signed by a judge. Officer did not see anything prohibiting reporting party from communication with the father. Again, another one of his lies. If there had been any kind of such order, then Emily Miskell would have to explain why you took a 23-month-old child from a perfectly fit mother with no allegations, no evidence presented against her in court, no open child protective service investigations, and ordered that breastfeeding child, as stated in the 1016 and 1030 2015 TROs that mom tried to file, and they locked the courtroom doors to not allow me to file, why she would order that breastfeeding child away from her mother for 2 weeks, no contact. If that were accurate, then Emily Miskell would have to explain that. Now, verbally, in the courtroom, she did say no contact, which again makes no sense per the family code, per the needs of a child under 3, per all of the considerations it says a judge shall make with a child under the age of 3. Again, in her abuse of discretion. So she said it, but she didn't write it in the rulings of the court that we'll go over for good reason, because then it would show she was abusing her discretion and needlessly placing a child in emotional distress, trauma, and harm, as well as physical neglect. The motion to enter packet that attorney Ken Harder submitted to be signed before the 3-2 hearing when officially they're putting those final orders in place never said anything about no contact. And of course our final order didn't say anything about no contact, because again that would be bogus, and that would be showing that the family law specialist Emily Miskell, who supposedly definitely is respected by all peers and judges and knows family code, why in the world she's making such irresponsible, negligent, abusive discretion orders for this child. But again, the officer saw that ultimately he was lying about that. And then furthermore, he also didn't mention the emails where he said to me, please continue to limit communication, because I wasn't this aggressive, threatening, harassing baby's mom, contacting him every day saying, how's my daughter? Show me anything. As unfortunately, again, some people are very dramatic and do that. I had simply sent a few communications just saying, please show me, please tell me how she's doing. He had actually sent me pictures. 2 out of the 2 pictures he sent me, one was very concerning because she had a very blank stare, looking very confused, as I imagine any 23-month-old would be when ripped away from everyone and everything they've ever known for 2 weeks to be with people that she's only spent a very limited time with. Again, not because I have not allowed it, but because he was refusing to schedule it, as the Faith and Liberty Place records will also confirm when we get to Faith and Liberty Place. So much to go over here. Again, this was the request originally that I did on March 28th to get this report, so you can see that that was done. You can see, again, the bottom of their sheet here for the colony records. Okay. And that's when I had requested, please include 911 audio for 10/25/16 in that request. Originally, I thought it was 10/25, but it wasn't. It was 10/21. And so again, just showing where I got that audio from, the request that they fulfilled. These were the only other incident reports that they gave. I'm going to show these ORI numbers. Oh, wait a minute. I'm showing the wrong thing because apparently that is pertaining to the Colony Police Department. So I'm going to go back and look for the actual report numbers. Incident report numbers. I'm going to go over those. So the only thing they provided here, 2014-0000869. I'm going to go ahead and read this one. And this was done 6/16/2014, and this is when Curry Johnson was trying to go ahead and set in place that they hopefully never take anything that I say seriously. And it says he complains in regards to harassment by phone, email, and text. It says dispatch received by unit. Again, this was 6/16/2014, and again, this actually would be confirming to the email I have where he threatened to shoot me, because this was prior to that time when we started talking about our daughter. And I simply said to him, I don't care about child support, I don't care about anything else we agree with, but please don't ask me to put our daughter in the situation where you're drug dealing and you have to carry a gun for your protection. If you're not willing to stop it, you can have whatever you want, but please don't ask me to do that. And so that's when the conversation started coming up, where I said, because if that's the case, I'm going to ask for supervised visitation. And so that's when he started threatening me about, well, I hope you don't try to keep her from me, because this is how people end up shot in the penitentiary and kids come up missing and not returned. Now, again, to all the people that are being judgmental, but you knew who he was when you were dating him, when you slept with him. Again, if you go back to the other audios, or if you recall the various different videos, this talked about how, actually just the police narrative, like I explained to the Louisville police officer. When we first started dating in 2010, I actually met him in Frisco. I had an office and a business there at the Granite Park Towers in Frisco off of 121 and Dallas North Tollway. I met him at a really nice, it was a restaurant that turns into pretty much a club, and so, again, very nice, different environment. He did live in a nice home in the colony, not at all anyone that would be representative of any kind of thug or drug dealer or criminal. And again, that wasn't something I found out till later. Again, at that point, you know, he had made some threats against me, and I terminated the relationship. Now, when I connected with him again in 2013, I think actually he'd found me on Facebook, and I reached out to him one time. Again, he had claimed that he had just been baptized, he had just been saved, he was changing his life, he believed God had a good plan for his life to help a lot of people, you know, back from the neighborhood. And again, I love a good transformation story. I believed him. So again, when people are so critical to say, well, how did she wind up with that guy anyways? A better question would be the one that's abusing. Why not just simply ask, why is he abusive? Or vice versa, if it's a female. Again, instead of focusing on victim blaming, why not focus on their behavior? Or again, why did she stay? Instead of, again, just asking the question, why did she stay? Why not ask the questions, why was it impossible for her to leave? Or why was it an environment where she couldn't stay? Or vice versa, this can be for a man as well. We're asking the wrong questions and blaming the wrong people. I do take personal responsibility for choosing to date and sleep with someone outside of marriage. Now, a lot of people, about 90% of you, will say that there's nothing wrong with having a relationship with someone and sleeping with them outside of marriage. My biblical beliefs say that there's something wrong with it, and so I shouldn't have been doing it. And so I take full responsibility that if I hadn't been doing it, we wouldn't have winded up in this situation. At the same time, I also realize if we wouldn't have been doing it, I wouldn't have my daughter. And so I believe that's Romans 8:28, and God's grace for giving me also as a sinner by allowing all things to work together for the good of those who love him and are called according to his purposes. In that same thing, we've come from different sides of the tracks. Ultimately, I do things legally and lawfully. Ultimately, he does things by threatening people and engaging in criminal behavior. I still have believed that is still his child. He still has the right to be a part of her life. And so that's why, even though we stopped dating after I became pregnant, in this time, you know, this is 6/16/2014. This was after she was already born. I had been allowing visits in our El Dorado Heights McKinney home, not Section 8 housing, as he tries to make everyone believe. The government's tired of taking care of you and your kids, and you're in Section 8 housing. No, when my daughter was born, we were living in El Dorado Heights, and the #1 best place to live in the country, and he was still complaining that his environment would be better because he's more stable, he has more to give her everything and treat her like a queen. But of course, again, he wouldn't schedule visits to come see her. He wouldn't help take care of her financial needs until he was forced and his wages were garnished. But anyways, I don't want to get too far off into the story. The bottom line is I do take responsibility, yes, for sleeping with Curry Johnson, yes, for believing that his life had changed and that he no longer was rushing people off to abortion clinics as BK and baby killer. I believed when he said that ultimately he was getting more serious, honestly, about me. Again, giving me keys to his home, continuing to take me over to his mother's house, and again, we were getting a lot more serious. Again, introduced me to his niece when we took a trip to Louisiana, and so I was a fool to believe that, yes, this was a changed man. That was my mistake, that was my error, now we have a child together. And so again, the representation that he's putting in this, that at 6/16/2014, which was a few months after our daughter's birth, that we're now talking about visitation. Again, that's just confirming, and also goes along with the protective order that I had to get, where we would have these conversations. We'd actually meet at Central Market in Plano. It's the first time he threatened me with a gun present about shooting me and her coming up missing, was me saying to him, you can have whatever you want, but please don't ask me to agree to have our daughter a part of your drug dealing world if you're not willing to stop. So again, this is what him actually is reporting, is he's saying it's harassment by phone, email, and text. And he's saying, spoke with the reporting party, and he advised that the suspect is telling him she will keep the baby from him if it is his when they find out from tests next month. Reporting party was advised that it's a civil matter. Responding party also stated she calls and emails him all the time. He has since blocked her, but wanted PD to know in case something happens as far as her harassing him. He was told to save all messages, emails, and texts in case she does continue. No report at this time. Now, what's interesting is he's never tried to present any of those in a court of law. I actually have reported and presented those in a court of law. We're going to talk about the 8/27/2014 protective order hearing that occurred in Judge John Roach Jr.'s courtroom in Collin County, Texas, where I presented one of those emails confirming his fatal shooting threats and her coming up missing and not being returned, and also provided further audio where he was yelling and cursing at me and calling me late at night, telling me that I better tell him where the F I'm going, as if we were married, as if we were in a relationship, and as if he gets the right to control my life just because I have a child that, by the way, I don't even know if it's mine, but I'm still controlling where you go, and you better tell me where the F you're going. So again, I have presented those evidences. Collin County has worked hard to keep those evidences out. We will go over the 8/27/14 protective order, where actually we had that hearing. An order came out of it, as you'll see with the email chain between me and his attorney, Ken Harder, and Judge Roach, when I walked out of that hearing and he talked to Judge Chris Oldner that had my son's case already engaging in gross judicial misconduct and bias against me. They then chose to give my daughter's case to Judge Chris Oldner, transfer him into the same court, again secretly without notifying anybody, and then they listed that hearing as canceled and never held, at which time they also then made my case disappear from county records where it could not be viewed for 10 months. I will also then show you the email with Zonia Menjera's confirming that. Again, corrupt district clerk supervisor over all the family law cases in Collin County. So if other people are watching this and they've had similar issues, then yes would be the time to stand up, speak up, and share your stories as well. She needs to go to jail. So ultimately, again, we'll get to those documentations and those proofs that I have as well. So again, I'm just going to show incident report numbers so we can get through with what the colony actually provided. So that's actually a very great confirming report that he's made to talk about when our issue started. Me saying you can have whatever you want. I don't care about the money. Don't ask me to put her in your drug dealing world. Okay, incident report number. Incident report number. Okay, so those were all of the incidents from the Colony PD. This is where I was just going through the Child Abuse Prosecution Unit in Denton County, and I was contemplating contacting them further for assistance, but didn't know, of course, who I could trust. Being that they never investigated the first report after I mentioned judicial corruption in Collin County, I didn't feel too confident that they would actually do the right thing if I contacted them again in this particular matter, but I was preparing and getting ready for that. 3/29/2016 is when I printed this out. Child Abuse Prevention Unit, again, full intent to contact them further. This was only printed on 3/30. So again, I never got the time to be able to get a hold of them. And again, I didn't want to report anything that could have been construed as false allegations, not having all of my evidences ready to go to be able to show and share with them, because forensic interviewing of her at this time, literally over a month later, they would not have had the same evidence that they could have had at the hospital, Children's Hospital, where both the ER doctor and the social services worker talked me out of having her forensically examined, properly swabbed, evidence properly collected and stored per Texas law. And so just putting her into a forensic interview situation where, again, Collin County has promised to do forensic interviews on my son, did not do them, just simply returned him to his father and to his abusive school environment. Again, I've been down that road, so there were reasons why I didn't jump on it immediately, but most importantly, again, if you saw when I reported or when I actually got the records, to have something to report, something concrete, medical records before and after, not allegations, not suspicions. Again, you'll see that I didn't even print out most of the reports, the before and after, until 3/28. So again, I'm looking at this information. We've got 3/30, okay, just within days. And again, I was heading to court to show cause, even though they all kept it out from February 22nd to till March 2nd for 10 days. 7 of them they're in Collin County, really 6, 1 forced by supervisors. I was going to show cause on 3/30, but getting all of my evidence and all my ducks in a row. Now, I want to share something really quickly. There was a group out there called Perverted Justice, and they actually labeled the Collin County, Texas DA, Greg Davis, as the biggest liar we've ever dealt with in our lives. I'm going to go ahead and read this report. It says, in June 2007, Perverted Justice was criticized following a sting operation in Collin County, Texas, that resulted in the charges against 23 suspected online sex predators being dropped. Collin County... Princess, don't scream, Minnie. Says Collin County Assistant District Attorney Greg Davis said the cases were dropped after Perverted Justice failed to provide enough usable evidence. Many cases we could not prosecute because Perverted Justice refused to answer our question, refused to participate as witnesses, or refused to turn over potential evidence. Susan Etheridge, director of the Children's Advocacy Center in Plano, Texas, was not surprised the cases were thrown out. She doubts the efficacy of citizen-based group in conducting such a sting. I know that law enforcement works very hard to find and prosecute internet predators. When citizens do it, I don't know that can work. Whether that can work. Perhaps policing is best left to the police. So very prideful, arrogant, non-cooperative response to citizens trying to help them do their job and get predators offline. Only we can do it. Responding to the criticism, members of Perverted Justice have stated on their website that they were never asked for relevant evidence, never refused to provide witnesses, and answered all the Murphy prosecutor's questions. They described the Collin County District Attorney's Office as corrupt, inept. Princess, you want to come with Mommy? Come on. You want to be on my computer. Okay, I'm getting ready to have to shut this recording down. As corrupt, inept, and incompetent, while labeling Collin County, Texas DA Greg Davis the biggest liar we've ever dealt with in our lives. Okay, Princess. Come on. This is going to be relevant when we start talking about the report from McKinney Internal Affairs that says that I never provided evidence. Again, I've got audios to dispute that. They refused to get the evidence of his murder threats in the beginning, and that's going to be relevant in this case as well. Gonna tend to her for a little bit, who's wanting to sit here and do some activity on the computer. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn this off right now. You want Mommy to help you? Yes? You want to be in the computer? Okay. I love you. I love you. Can you say bye-bye? Bye. Bye. Say bye. All right.